Don't try this at home. Leave it up to the experts. The words echoed around the audience as rattlesnake handler Eugene de Leon Sr. held the snake out in front of him. But sometimes, just sometimes, the experts can get it wrong. And when they do, the results can be devastating. Hit like and subscribe. This is Fierce. The city of Freer in Texas is famous for one thing: the annual Freer Rattlesnake Roundup. This event promises a weekend of snake competitions, handling displays, barbecue cook-offs, parades, and car shows. It draws in thousands of visitors every year, most of them excited to see the snake handlers work their magic with some of the most venomous snakes in the world. The roundup is one of many that take place across the Midwest and southern United States. More than 100,000 snakes have been known to have been caught from the wild each year during a single roundup. It's a tradition that began in the middle of the 20th century, and while the snakes used to be killed for their skins or sold to handlers and collectors, now many of them are returned to the wild after the event. As experts show off the size of their rattlesnakes and educate the audience about their characteristics, they often tell the audience, "Don't try this at home. Leave it up to the experts." But sometimes the experts do get it wrong. On April 30th, 2022, 60-year-old Eugene de Leon Sr. was performing at the roundup. He was considered one of the most experienced snake handlers at the show, having tamed and handled snakes for more than 20 years. But despite his expertise and vast knowledge of the rattlesnakes, something was about to go horribly wrong. And tragically, the roundup of 2022 would be Eugene's last. Eugene had lived his whole life in Freer. In his professional career, he was an oilfield worker for Straight Line Construction, High Tide Oilfield Services, and XTX LLC. Now in his 60s, Eugene worked as a custodian at Freer High School and was also a member of the Freer Volunteer Fire Department, giving back to the community through volunteering his time to help save lives. But his true passion was handling rattlesnakes, and he was well known in the local area for it. With Texas home to 9 different species of rattlesnake, Eugene's phone was always ringing from worried residents who had found a rattlesnake on their property. He would willingly arrive at their home and expertly capture the snake and relocate it. That was what he was known for. As the town of Freer swelled that April weekend with the influx of visitors to the annual show, Eugene readied himself for his performance. He was a firm favorite with the regulars, and a crowd gathered around as he began to describe the rattlesnakes in his care. He held them firmly in his grasp, showing off their long bodies and their long fangs, some of them measuring more than an inch long. Education was part of Eugene's repertoire. It was important for people to understand the snakes and the dangers they posed, but also to treat them with the respect they deserved. But on that fateful day, Eugene miscalculated something. He had performed the same routine for years, but this time something went horribly wrong. Maybe it was lapse in judgment, maybe something spooked the snake or distracted Eugene. Whatever it was, Eugene wasn't expecting it. As he held the rattlesnake out in front of him, wowing the audience with his dance-like moves around the reptile, the snake suddenly wheeled around and struck him on the shoulder. It was a Western Diamondback rattlesnake. They are responsible for the majority of fatal snake bites in Mexico and the greatest number of snake bites in the whole of the United States. Rattlesnakes can strike at speeds of almost 3 meters per second, or 6.5 miles per hour. This doesn't sound that quick, but they can strike up to a third of their body length, which makes them difficult to get out of the way from when in close proximity. There was no time for Eugene to react. He'd allowed too much of the snake to dangle free from his hands, and it had used its exceptionally muscular body to launch itself at its handler. Narrowly avoiding Eugene's face and neck, the snake sunk its fangs into the flesh on his shoulder instead. Eugene instantly put the snake back in its box and clutched his shoulder. Although the potency of the Western Diamondback rattlesnake's venom is lower than other species, it delivers a much higher dose than others owing to its large venom glands. This makes it exceptionally dangerous, and although the majority of people recover if they receive immediate medical assistance, the young, old, and those in poor health are most likely to succumb to the snake's toxicity. Paramedics that were already at the venue were alerted to the accident and rushed to the stage. Realizing the severity of the attack, a helicopter was flown in, and Eugene was airlifted to Corpus Christi Hospital, 80 miles away. It was 1 p.m., and doctors knew it was a race against time to save Eugene's life. When a rattlesnake bites, the venom is injected into the bloodstream, causing fatal damage if left untreated. Depending on the species, the venom can contain between 5 and 15 different substances, including enzymes, proteins, and polypeptides that make it a toxic mixture adapted for rapidly subduing its prey. Not only does the venom disable the victim, but some of its components begin to break down tissues, which aid in digesting the animal once it has died. Eugene would have felt an intense pain at the bite site. His shoulder would have become swollen as the venom began breaking down muscle tissue and working its way through the body. The hemotoxic components disrupted the blood clotting abilities of Eugene's circulatory system. As blood cells started to be destroyed by the venom, the body's ability to clot and prevent massive internal bleeding was severely hampered. Victims need to resist the urge to tourniquet the area, as this intensifies the toxicity of the venom at the bite site, causing permanent damage to the tissues. Sucking out the venom is also strongly advised against, as ingesting it can lead to other major problems. Instead, remaining calm and avoiding movement is the best way to slow the attack on the internal tissues before medical assistance can be sought. A numbness came over Eugene's face, his arms tingled, and sweat dripped from his brow. He knew exactly what was happening to him. He was knowledgeable about the lethal capabilities of rattlesnake venom, and he had educated hundreds of people about it over the years. Although he could feel the venom taking hold, he forced himself to remain calm. It was the only thing he could do, trying to prevent the venom from coursing through his veins and spreading to every cell in his body. Paralysis began setting in as Eugene's helicopter arrived at the hospital. An overwhelming feeling of nausea came over him as he was wheeled into the emergency department. An IV line was set up immediately, and much-needed antivenom was pumped into his blood vessels. But the damage from the bite had been excessive. Eugene's blood pressure was dangerously low. His vital organs had taken a hit and were seriously damaged from the venom. The heart had been damaged, and the next day or two would be crucial. But it didn't look like Eugene would make it into the next day. For the next 8 hours, he and the doctors surrounding him battled courageously to stay alive. But his heart finally gave out at 9 p.m. that evening. Eugene was pronounced dead at the hospital. His sister, Monica Demas, paid tribute to Eugene, saying that her brother has gained his wings today, doing what he loved doing. He had a passion for snake handling at the Rattlesnake Roundup in Freer. A celebration of Eugene's life took place at St. Francis de Paula Catholic Church in July. Many came to pay their respects to the larger-than-life character. One thing he loved more than his beloved rattlesnakes was spending time with his family. Sadly, he left behind his mother, son, 2 daughters, and grandchildren.